A billionaire suddenly dies after falling sick. Doctors say it was stress. The family says it was grief. The world accepts it and moves on. But that is not the truth. He did not die. He was made to disappear. Inside his house, plans were spoken in low voices. Not just about his death, but about a small boy who trusted the wrong people. A child who still called a woman mother, without knowing she saw him as a problem. Everyone believed the story they were given. Everyone except one person, the maid. She heard words she was never meant to hear. She saw things she was never meant to notice. And she understood something terrible. If she stayed silent, a man would never wake again. If she spoke too soon, a child would not live long enough to ask why. No one listens to maids. No one believes people like her. So she made a choice that night. A choice that would change lives, destroy lies, and turn a fake death into the most dangerous secret of all. Because when the world announced the billionaire was dead, the real fight had only just begun. James Carter had lived in that house for many years, but that evening felt different. It was not because of noise. It was because of how quiet everything was. The big house stood calm from the outside. Lights were on. The gate opened as usual when his car arrived. The guards greeted him like they always did. Nothing looked strange. But James felt something was wrong. He had returned home earlier than planned. A business meeting was canceled at the last moment. He wanted to surprise his wife, Lauren, maybe have dinner together, maybe talk. Lately, they did not talk much. Since his first wife died years ago, James had learned how lonely a big house could feel. Money filled rooms, but it did not fill the heart. Lauren came into his life during a hard time. She listened. She smiled. She said the right things. That was why he married her so fast. As James stepped inside the house, the air felt heavy. No music. No sound of laughter. Even the clock sounded too loud. He took off his coat and walked forward. That was when someone grabbed his arm. "Sir, please don't speak." The voice was low, careful, shaking, but controlled. James turned quickly. It was Evelyn, the maid. She had worked in the house for a year. Quiet woman, always respectful. She cleaned, served meals, and stayed out of the way. He barely spoke to her except to say thank you. Now her hand was tight on his arm. "Evelyn, what is?" She covered his mouth. Her face was pale, not crying, not screaming, just serious, focused. "Please," she whispered, "not a word." Before James could ask anything, she pulled him toward the coat closet near the door. She opened it, pushed him inside, stepped in with him, and closed the door slowly. Darkness surrounded them. James felt confused, angry, afraid. "What are you doing?" he tried to say, but his voice was trapped under her hand. "Listen," Evelyn whispered. At first, James heard nothing. Then voices. Lauren's voice. And another man's voice. Through the small crack in the closet door, James could see the living room. Lauren stood near the couch, holding a glass. She was smiling. It was not the smile she gave him. This one was relaxed, easy. The man beside her was David, a friend, she had said, someone who helped with business advice. James never liked how comfortable David was in his house. Evelyn leaned closer to James and whispered, "They think you are still out of town." James felt his stomach tighten. Lauren laughed softly. "It's working," she said. "He's getting weaker every day." David nodded. "And the boy?" Lauren paused, then spoke calmly. "Later. One thing at a time." James felt something drop inside him. Lucas. His 6-year-old son was upstairs, sleeping, holding his toy like he did every night since losing his mother. Lauren continued speaking. Doctors won't notice. Small doses. Spread out. Stress will take the blame. David said, and after everything comes to you? Lauren smiled. The company, the money, the house, and the child. There was a short silence. Then Lauren spoke again, colder this time. Accidents happen. James felt dizzy. This could not be real. This had to be a mistake. A misunderstanding. Evelyn's voice came close to his ear. She has been changing your medicine, she whispered. I saw it weeks ago. I didn't know how to tell you. James stared through the crack, watching the woman he married speak about his death, like it was a simple plan. His head started to hurt. His body felt weak. His hands shook. Lauren raised her glass. By the time anyone questions anything, it will be too late. He trusts me. David laughed. No one listens to maids anyway. Inside the closet, James leaned against the wall. The room felt smaller. His breathing became slow and heavy. Evelyn noticed immediately. It's happening again, she whispered. She reached into her apron and placed a small cloth in his hand. Breathe into this, she said, slow. James did as she said. Outside, Lauren and David moved toward the kitchen. Their voices faded. Evelyn opened the closet slightly, listened, then turned to James. We can't stay here, she said. If you fall, they will finish it. James swallowed. My son. Evelyn nodded. Lucas is safe for now, she said firmly, but you must trust me. James looked at her. This woman he barely knew. The only one standing between him and death. He nodded. Evelyn led him down the back hallway. Not the main stairs, the staff stairs, the narrow ones behind the walls. James did not even know they existed. With each step, his body felt heavier. Lean on me, Evelyn said. He did. They reached the basement. The air was cold. The lights were weak. Evelyn guided him into a small storage room and closed the door. James collapsed. When he opened his eyes again, Evelyn was beside him, holding a cloth to his forehead. You passed out, she said softly. James tried to sit. The room spun. Sir, Evelyn said slowly, you are being poisoned. Hearing it out loud made it real. My son? James asked. Evelyn's face tightened. They won't wait long. Silence filled the room. James spoke at last. We go to the police. Evelyn shook her head. Not yet. She controls too much. If she finds you before we have proof, you won't survive another day. James closed his eyes. Then Evelyn said something that changed everything. If they believe you are dead, she said, they will stop watching you. James looked at her. You want me to disappear, he said. I want you to live, Evelyn replied. The idea hung in the air. Above them, the house stood quiet. Lauren believed her plan was working, and James Carter was about to make a decision that would turn his life into a lie just to save the truth. James did not leave the basement that night. He lay on a thin mattress placed on the cold floor of the storage room. The light above him stayed on. It was weak, but Evelyn did not turn it off. She wanted to see his face clearly. She watched his breathing. She listened to every sound he made. Above them, the house continued like nothing had happened. Lauren laughed. Lauren poured drinks. Lauren spoke on the phone. James could hear faint footsteps through the ceiling. Each sound reminded him that he was no longer safe in his own home. You need to stay awake, Evelyn said softly. James nodded. His mouth was dry. His body felt heavy. His thoughts moved slowly, like they were trapped in mud. How long have you known? He asked. Evelyn did not answer right away. She folded her hands and sat on a wooden box beside him. I started noticing small things, she said. Pills that changed color. Bottles that were moved. You getting sick after meals I didn't prepare. James closed his eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Evelyn looked down. Because people like me don't get believed. And because I was afraid. James understood. He had spent his life in meetings and offices. He had never needed to fear not being heard. Evelyn had. That night passed slowly. Evelyn stayed awake. James drifted in and out of sleep. Each time he woke, the pain was still there. His body felt weaker than he wanted to admit. Just before morning, Evelyn spoke again. They will announce it today, she said. Your illness, your collapse. James opened his eyes. My death. Yes. The word felt strange. Heavy. How? He asked. Evelyn stood. Lauren already started, she said. I heard her talking to the doctor. She is pushing the story she wants. James turned his face toward the wall. By mid-morning, it happened. Evelyn turned on the small television in the storage room. The screen showed Lauren. She was dressed in black. Her voice shook. Her eyes looked tired. James Carter passed away early this morning, the reporter said. James stared at the screen. Dead. The words settled into the room. Lauren spoke. She talked about stress, about grief, about how hard James worked. She held a tissue. She paused at the right moments. She cried when the cameras were close. When the screen changed, Evelyn turned off the television. James lay still. I'm gone, he said quietly. Evelyn nodded. To the world, yes. James felt something break inside him. Not loud, not sudden, just a deep, quiet pain. My son, he said. Where is Lucas? Evelyn took a breath. With her, she said. She brought him out. She wants people to see them together. James sat up too fast. His head spun. She's using him, he said. Yes, Evelyn replied. And that's why you must stay hidden. The next few days felt unreal. James stayed in the basement during daylight. At night, Evelyn brought him water, soup, and crushed tablets she trusted. She refused to let him take anything from upstairs. Lauren wore black every day. Visitors came, cameras came, flowers filled the house. From the basement, James could hear voices he recognized. People who said they loved him, people who praised him. None of them knew he was alive. Evelyn watched everything. She cleaned upstairs during the day, acting like nothing had changed. She listened, she watched, she remembered. Lauren changed quickly. Her tears became fewer. Her phone calls became longer. She stopped asking about Lucas's feelings. She spoke about money, about control, about meetings. She thinks she has won, Evelyn said one night. James nodded. That's when people make mistakes. One evening, James saw Lucas on the television again. The boy stood beside Lauren. He did not smile. He held his hands together and looked at the ground. James felt his chest tighten. He looked scared, he said. Evelyn said nothing, but her face showed pain. That night, James could not sleep. He sat up, holding his head. Why are you doing this? He asked suddenly. Evelyn froze. Risking your life, he continued. Helping me. You could leave. The room stayed quiet. Then Evelyn spoke. Because if I don't, she said slowly, he will not survive. James looked at her. You mean Lucas? Evelyn nodded. There was something in her voice, something deeper than fear, deeper than duty. James waited. Evelyn sat down across from him. Her hands trembled slightly. There is something you don't know, she said. James leaned forward. Evelyn's voice dropped. I did not come back to this house for work, she said. I came back because of the child. James felt confused. What do you mean? Evelyn swallowed. "Lucas is not just your son," she said. The words hung between them. James stared at her. "What are you saying?" Evelyn's eyes filled with tears she did not wipe away. "I am his mother," she said. The room felt smaller. James could not speak. Years of memory rushed into his mind. A short time, a mistake, a decision made to protect his image, to protect his marriage. "And you stayed?" he said slowly. "All this time?" "Yes," Evelyn replied. "I watched him grow. I stayed quiet. I stayed invisible." James leaned back against the wall. "And now," Evelyn continued, "the woman who wants you dead wants him gone too." Silence filled the room again. James finally spoke. "You saved us," he said. Evelyn shook her head. "I saved my child." Above them, Lauren slept peacefully. She believed the past was buried. She believed the truth was gone. She did not know that the woman she ignored carried the strongest reason to fight. And she did not know that the man she buried was already planning his return. James stayed hidden. That was the hardest part. He wanted to run upstairs, grab his son, and leave everything behind. But Evelyn stopped him every time his fear turned into action. "If you go back now," she told him, "they will say you are sick in the head, or they will finish what they started." James hated those words, but he knew they were true. Lauren had already taken control. From the small television in the basement, James watched her move into his life like it had always been hers. She sat in his chair. She spoke to his lawyers. She signed papers using his name. She talked about the future like he had never existed. "She's moving fast," James said one night. "Yes," Evelyn replied, "because she thinks there is no danger anymore." That was when Evelyn made her decision. "I need to go back into the house," she said. James looked at her sharply. "No." "She trusts the house," Evelyn continued. "She trusts the walls. That's where people talk freely." "It's too dangerous," James said. Evelyn met his eyes. "Lucas is still there." That ended the argument. The next morning, Evelyn put on her old uniform, the same simple clothes she had worn for a year. Clean, plain, easy to forget. She tied her hair back the way she always did. Before leaving, she stood in front of James. "If anything happens to me," she said, "you take Lucas and you leave." James shook his head. "You're not dying in that house." Evelyn did not reply. She only nodded once and walked out. The mansion had changed. New guards, new locks, new rules. But not everything was different. Some people were replaced, some stayed. The ones who stayed barely looked at Evelyn. To them, she was furniture, a moving object that cleaned and left. That was exactly what she needed. She cleaned rooms. She washed cups. She listened. Lauren spent long hours on the phone. Her voice was sharp now. No softness. No sadness. "The board will follow me," Lauren said one afternoon. "They have no choice." Evelyn cleaned near the door, her head lowered. "And the boy?" a man asked. Lauren sighed. "He's quiet, too quiet. Children notice things." Evelyn's hand tightened around the cloth. "Do we need to worry?" the man asked. Lauren paused. "Not yet. But I don't like loose ends." Evelyn felt sick. That night, she returned to the basement and told James everything. "She's talking about Lucas like he's a problem," Evelyn said. James stood up so fast the room tilted. "No," he said. "Not my son." "That's why we can't wait," Evelyn replied. Over the next days, Evelyn watched closely. Lauren drank more. She laughed louder. She stopped checking behind her. David came often, too often. They spoke freely in James's old office. One night, Evelyn cleaned near the door and heard Lauren say, "The medicine worked perfectly." David laughed. "Doctors are fools." "And the records?" Lauren asked. "In the safe," David replied. "No one checks there." Evelyn's breath slowed. The safe. She remembered it. Behind the old painting. James had shown it to her once, years ago, when he still smiled easily. That night, Evelyn left the house shaking. "They have proof of the poison," she told James, "and fake papers." James listened carefully. "We need everything," he said. "Not some, all." A charity event was announced the next day. Lauren would host it herself, in James's name. "She wants to look strong," Evelyn said. "She wants people watching," James replied. "That's when masks fall." The plan was simple, but dangerous. Evelyn would go back during the event. James would stay close. They would collect proof and leave quietly. On the night of the event, the house was full. Music played. People talked. Glasses clinked. Evelyn moved through the kitchen and into the hallway. Her steps were slow, careful. She reached the office door. Locked. She took a small key from her pocket. An old one, forgotten by everyone else. The door opened. The room smelled the same. She moved to the painting and lifted it. The safe was there. Her fingers shook as she opened it. Inside were papers, medical reports, changed dates, changed words, and a small glass bottle. Clear liquid. Evelyn knew what it was. She placed everything into her bag and took pictures with her phone. Then she heard footsteps. Lauren's voice. Evelyn dropped to the floor and slid under the desk. The door opened. Lauren laughed. "Tonight went well." David answered, "Because you played your part." Evelyn stayed still. "The poison worked," Lauren said. "And soon the child won't be a problem either." Evelyn felt pain in her chest, but she did not move. David said, "No one will question another accident." Lauren replied, calm and cold, "Money makes people forget." Evelyn recorded everything. When they left, she waited, counted, then crawled out. As she stepped into the hallway, someone gasped, "Evelyn?" It was the head housekeeper. Before she could speak, Evelyn pulled her into a storage room and tied her hands gently. "I won't hurt you," Evelyn whispered. "Please forgive me." She ran. Down the stairs, through the basement, out through a broken window. James waited in the car. When he saw her running, he opened the door. "I got it," she said, breathless. "All of it." James held the bag like it was made of glass. "They talked about killing our son," he said quietly. Evelyn nodded. "Not anymore." They drove away. Behind them, the party continued. Lauren smiled for cameras. She did not know the truth had already left the house. And she did not know the next time she saw James Carter, the world would be watching. The night of the charity event did not end when Evelyn and James drove away. Music was still playing inside the house. People were still laughing. Cameras were still flashing. Lauren stood in the center of it all. She wore black. She spoke softly. She thanked people for coming to honor her late husband. She touched Lucas's shoulder when cameras came close, then let go when they moved away. Lucas stayed quiet. He looked at the floor. He held his hands together. He did not smile. Lauren did not notice. She was too busy believing she had won. Miles away, James sat in the car, holding the small bag Evelyn brought from the safe. He did not open it right away. "What if we are wrong?" he asked quietly. Evelyn looked at him. "We are not." They stopped at a quiet place. James opened the bag slowly. The bottle. The papers. The recordings. There was no doubt anymore. "She planned everything," James said. "My sickness, my death, And Lucas? Evelyn nodded. She talked about him like he was an object. James closed the bag. Then we don't hide anymore, he said. The next morning, the story changed. News channels broke the silence. Billionaire James Carter is alive. People thought it was a joke. Then pictures appeared. Then videos. Lauren saw it on her phone while drinking coffee. The cup fell from her hand. "This is not possible," she whispered. But it was. James walked into the police station that afternoon. Not alone. Evelyn walked beside him. He told everything. The poison. The fake illness. The plan. The child. Officers listened. The evidence spoke louder than words. Lauren was called in for questioning. She tried to smile. She tried to cry. She tried to deny. But lies are weak when truth stands still. Later that evening, the same charity hall filled again. But this time, cameras were not there for pity. They were there for truth. Lauren stood near the stage, confused, angry, shaking. Then James walked in. The room fell silent. Some people stepped back. Some gasped. Some stared. Lauren froze. "You're dead," she said without thinking. James looked at her. "You wanted me to be." Security stood still, waiting. James walked forward calmly. "I am alive," he said, "and I am here to tell the truth." Lauren laughed, nervous. "This is madness. He is sick. He doesn't know what he's saying." Evelyn stepped forward. She pressed play. Lauren's voice filled the room. Clear. Cold. Careless. The poison worked perfectly. The child won't be a problem. No one listens to maids. People covered their mouths. Lauren screamed, "Turn it off!" James held up the bottle. "This was put into my medicine." He lifted the papers. "These are fake medical records." Lauren stepped back. "You planned my death," James said, "and you planned my son's." Security moved. Lauren tried to run. She didn't make it far. Police entered. Daniel was taken too. Lauren screamed as they pulled her away. "You should have stayed dead!" James did not reply. He turned instead to Lucas. The boy stood frozen. James knelt in front of him. "I am here," he said gently. "I never left." Lucas stared at him, then rushed forward and held him. "I thought you were gone," Lucas said. James held him tight. "I'm not going anywhere." Evelyn watched from a distance. She tried to step back, to disappear again. James stopped her. "Evelyn," he said, "stay." She hesitated. "I didn't do this for thanks," she said. "I know," James replied. "You did it for him." Lucas looked at her. "You're the one who kept me safe," he said. Evelyn nodded, tears on her face. Days passed. Lauren and Daniel were charged. The company froze everything she touched. The board reversed her actions. The house felt quiet again. Different. James moved slowly. He did not rush back into life. He spent time with Lucas. He listened. One evening, Lucas handed Evelyn a drawing. 3 people holding hands. "This is us," Lucas said. Evelyn smiled. For the first time, she did not feel invisible. This story was not about money. It was about truth. It was about a child saved by a woman who refused to stay silent. It was about a man who chose to live, and a lie that could not survive the light. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, it is because it is not just a story about money or power. It is a story about people, about fear that stays silent, about love that hides in the shadows, and about courage that comes from places we never expect. It reminds us that sometimes the ones we ignore are the ones holding the truth. Sometimes The quiet people are the ones doing the hardest things. And sometimes, one brave choice can save a life, a child, and a future. Think about Evelyn. Think about James. Think about Lucas. Ask yourself this question. What would you do if you heard the truth but knew no one would believe you? Would you stay silent? Or would you stand up, even if it cost you everything? If this story made you feel something, please don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so more people can see it. Share it with someone who needs hope. And subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories that speak to real life. We read your comments. So tell us below, who do you think was the bravest in this story, and why? Until the next story, remember this: truth may be quiet, but it never stays buried forever.